Alright everyone, welcome back. If you saw our first video, we made this from a rectangle into a square. If you don't know how to do that, you can go back to part 1. Now, for this tulip, you need the part that's going to be the flower. So in this case, I'll use pink. You need the part that's going to be the flower to be smaller than the green. And I know that you can find exact measurements out there, but it's kind of a good chance to practice scale and just sort of make them and see how they match up. So I think for this size green paper, I'm going to put my big pink paper away. I might actually use this green paper so you can see it better. I think for this size green paper, I'm going to make a little mini square for one of mine. And I actually have Post-it notes. So I might make 2 just in case that's not the right size. So here's a mini squaring off lesson. We're going to fold the corner, make sure it matches up. This is pretty small, so you can just kind of eyeball it, but you can use the pencil if you need. Okay. And this might be, oh, this is just a little bit bigger, so we'll see which one fits. So again, like I said before, ideally you want nice, flat, crisp paper, but we're all working with what we have, so this is what I have today. It is nice origami paper, it's just a little rumply, so it'll be fine. So I'm going to save the stem for later. I'm going to show you how to make the flower first because the flower is a little bit easier, and if you just wanted to do that, you can easily make that into a card, and I can show you how to do that. You can just use the flower to decorate things. So let's start with the one we just cut. I'm going to put this so you can see the size. So yeah, the green should be bigger than the flower part. This might not be the right size, but we'll see. So we have our square, and to make the flower, you're just going to fold points to the points. So you have a triangle, and again, we're dragging down, spreading across, making those nice creases. Then you turn it. Then I'm going to fold, match up my points again. In origami, the points are really important. Really having crisp folds and nice points is important because you make many folds in origami, and every little bit that it's off ends up, it's sort of exponential, which means it kind of multiplies. So if you have a tiny little error in the first fold, it sort of gets bigger and bigger. So we've made a crisscross. And we made that little mini fold just to kind of give it a little bit of extra texture like a tulip, but you don't need to do it. So now all you're going to do, and this is a great way to practice symmetry. Hopefully you can see that middle line right there. I kind of keep my finger here so I can measure. You're just going to fold one side up. And I kind of use my finger to measure. You want them to be the same. Symmetrical means they're the same on both sides. So there you go. Now we're going to flip it over. And you can just fold in these little bits. And that kind of gives it, and same thing here, you kind of want to make sure the points are equal from the middle. And if they're not, you can see when you flip it over. There. So now you have the little flower. You can kind of take your finger and puff it out. Sometimes I like to, my students got so creative last year, it was really amazing to see what they did, but we would cut little yellow and orange pieces or black pieces. Sometimes tulips have that inside black part, or the little other flowers have stamen, it's called, with those little pieces that come out. Let's see. I did something like that here. So you can glue strips on the inside. But we'll put that aside for now. Here's our tulip. Now I'm going to show you the leaf part. So I fold it over so the color side is on the back. I'm going to do the same fold. I'm going to bring the point up to the other point, make sure it's even, and I drag my finger down, spread it out. It's nice using origami square paper because you know it's already in a perfect square. So I'm making really nice creases, especially because we're using one that's a little rumpled. All right. Now, this is a little bit like a kite. It's going to look a little bit like a kite, and you really want to pay attention to the center line. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I'll just draw a light pencil so you can kind of see where I'm lining things up to. This is not perfectly scientific, but there you go. So first you're going to take it and you're going to take one of the wings, one of the side points. You want to line it right up down the middle, right against the fold. So it's a nice point at the top. So it's perfectly in half. That's why I call it a kite fold, because it kind of looks like a kite. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing to the other side. And if you've done it right, they should match up pretty exactly. If it's way off, like if one side's way longer than the other, you probably need to go back and refold. So you can see I have a nice point there. You don't want to cross over the middle. You want there to be almost the tiniest little space in between. Can you see that? All right. Now we're going to turn it. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So this will be longer. One side will be longer. So I'm lining it up. Sometimes it's easier to work from the side, and I kind of take one side to pull it and one finger over here to make sure it stays in a nice point. Okay. So again, we're lining it up so everything's lining up down that middle line, that midline. That looks pretty good. So you should have this long part and the short part. Now you're going to do the same fold on the long part, the same kind of kite fold, but you're going to make it even skinnier. So you're taking this outside edge and folding it so it lines up in the middle. And I like to take one hand up near the top where it's folding and one hand down by the point. So you can see it makes a really nice point. Spread it out. The crisper your folds are, the better the origami will turn out. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, you're really looking for symmetry, which means that it's the same on both sides. You can see my nice line. I like this because tulips really do have that beautiful kind of spear leaf. So this really does remind me of a tulip leaf. All right, so just in case you missed that, you've made each side of the long part in half. Now we're almost done. You're going to take the long part. You're going to fold it up. A lot of times people match the points up. I don't know that you have to, but for now we'll do it that way. So you line up these points. Make that nice crisp fold. And now you're going to be able to see, it might be hard from the video, you can see this middle crease line. You're folding the whole thing in half. So this is actually a similar move that we'll do in the origami crane, which is harder, but we will make a crane video too. Okay. So it's like the little spear is tucked into the bigger one. I like to pull mine out a little bit just so you can kind of see both. And these actually do stand up, especially if you use stiffer paper. So now, let's see if that matches up. It's up to you. You could do this one. We had this post-it that was a little bit bigger. I think in this one I made my flower maybe a little bit too big, but it doesn't really matter. So to get it to stick, you can either tape it, but I like to snip just a tiny bit, a small little hole in the bottom. You really don't need to cut very much because when the paper opens up, the hole gets quite a bit bigger. So I've made that tiny hole and you just kind of slip the spear through. There you go. And if it's wobbly, you can always put a little glue there. So that's our tulip. Now, what I want to show you that you can add on, I've made a couple more. If you wanted to just do the flower, because the flower is a little bit easier, I did this with my younger students last year. You can fold a nice big flower. You can add all sorts of fun stuff inside of it. You could even add a heart. Some kids added little things that you can pull out. And then you could just cut long green shapes and glue them on if the folding part was too hard. So that's kind of a neat way because it's like you're handing someone a whole card flower. I got kind of addicted to these last year, so I made a lot of them and actually stood them up at Mother's Day on the tables. So this is an example of one. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but you can if you're just playing with paper. I used a really thick paper because I was just sort of seeing what I had. I used a thick paper for the stem, which works nice because it stands up, but I used a pretty thin origami paper for the tulip, and you can see I cut it too big. So that's okay, we learn from our mistakes. But if I wanted to fix that, I could either fold it tighter or I could just glue it on the inside. But it's kind of fun to make all different sizes and shapes. I think that's all that I pre-made. So there you go, your little origami tulip family. Before I go, I want to show you two books that I really like, that if you're into origami, these are kind of fun to order. So let me put these to the side. And I, again, would challenge you to find this. It's nice to use origami paper, but you can use calendars, you can use the inside of envelopes, you can use all sorts of paper, and people really love getting origami. Maybe you just want to leave it, maybe make it for May Day, maybe you want to send a card to someone. People love getting them. So two books I really love on origami, and we read, if you saw one of my first videos on the Book of Colors, it's by the same people, I believe, by Nosy Crow. Yep, it's a great publisher. So here's two. One is origami and poetry, and one is origami and haiku. And I'm pretty into Japanese prints and art right now, so I really love this one. I love these books because every page has, let me just take you to my favorite one. The wave is in here somewhere. So they have the range of difficulty. So this one's an easier one because it only has one dot. So every single page has a haiku, which is a type of poem, an origami, and then a Japanese print that goes with it. I made this one a couple weeks ago. This is a print I really love. This is Hokusai's The Great Wave. So in this case, you can see these little boats in here, and they're teaching how to make a boat. They do get harder. Ooh, grasshopper. And then I like these books because they also have in the back, they have different symbols and folds, because a lot of times in origami you'll do the same fold over and over again. And then here they have a QR code, so you can scan them and they'll tell you more about each print, and they'll give you a video. So these books are a little bit of an investment. I think they're like $14 maybe. But they also come with 50 sheets of beautiful origami paper. So I think we'll learn how to do this type of flower next time. And I definitely want to teach you the crane, but the crane is a little bit harder. So anyway, these are two origami books. If you think you're into origami, I'll just show you a little bit of the origami and poetry one. So that's the paper. And then this one has a poem, nature, and an origami fold for every page. And pretty much all my kids, all ages up to 8th grade, like origami. So I think these are great books. But if you just want to try something pretty simple, maybe you have a younger brother or sister that wants to try the flower, and then you can try the stem, help each other. There you go. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Try and get outside, get some fresh air, and please leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Thank you.